here today to begin the 1966 season for the Richie Axelson career. I'm in Grand Prix Legends at the Kyalami circuit for the 1965 Rand Grand Prix. It's a Grand Prix I've done before. I've done this race before, and I've done the next few races that I'm going to do before, but they were quite a while ago, and I wanted to change a little bit how I was doing this series. So I hope folks will forgive me for doing a few of these races again. But the 1965 Rand Grand Prix, this was a race that was really the start of a new era in Grand Prix racing. In 1965, in the Formula One Championship, 1.5 liter engines, and for quite a few years before that, the 1.5 liter engines were the norm. And so for 1966, it was known that they're going to raise the displacement up to a 3 liter engines, and so this was really the first race that many Formula One teams took part in to prepare themselves for this 1966 season of return to power, as it was called. And so not the whole grid is here, actually not even close to the whole grid is here for this race, but some of the key players for the race: Jack Brabham's here, Joe Siffert, Innes Ireland's here as well. So some decent drivers, as well as a host of local drivers, folks like Peter de Klerk and John Love, staples in the South African Formula One scene in Grand Prix racing at the time. We're racing here in the Rand Grand Prix, and this is not an official Formula One race. It's one of the many non-championship races from the 1960s and on into the 1970s that was run. Something that's not done too much these days. But it was run at the Kyalami circuit, one that I know a lot of folks are familiar with for later Formula One seasons. But in 1965 and up until 1967, it was not a track that officially had a points-paying Formula One Grand Prix. So this one overall is a bit of a test session, which I think will be good to get back in the swing of things a little bit. I'm racing for Jack Brabham, or racing one of his cars really. I guess you could say I'm an independent entry, but racing for Jack Brabham, driving a BT11, and it's a 2.5 liter Climax engine, so it's a little down on power from the ultimate 3 liter that we're trying to get, but that's indicative of the time as well. The cars at this stage did not fully make that 3 liter, and for a lot of the 66 season, the cars didn't quite get to that 3 liter mark. So 2.5 liter Climax engine in the back should get a better punch, and it's the same equipment that Jack Brabham and Peter de Klerk, who's also racing a Brabham car, have. So I should be fairly competitive, I hope. We'll take a quick look here at the circuit and everything. I think folks generally know Kyalami pretty well, but of course the 2.5 mile road circuit, this version a little more like the late 60s version with the wider track, but fits our needs quite well. 9 turns, really. Crawthorne Corner going into turn 1 is the hardest part on the track, I think, but there's a little tricky spots all around. We'll be doing 15 laps today. The real Grand Prix was 50 laps, so it's quite a bit shorter than one of the main Formula One races, but it's not a super short race either. 15 laps will be pretty good. We'll take a look at the grid real quick. Peter de Klerk got the pole from Jack Brabham, so Brabham's on the front row, which is good for me. Joe Siffert and John Love in the second row there. And I qualified pretty far down. Richie Axelson here in the 7th position, starting next to Sam Tingle, another South African driver. So he's starting behind Bonnier and Ireland, hopefully get a good jump off the line. 15 laps will come quickly, so it's not one that I have a ton of time to make some moves, but it's a short grid, 11 cars. In the real Grand Prix, it seems like there may have been some attrition from practice. I think around 15, 16 cars were entered, and only 11 actually started the race, or ended up being counted in it. So it's a real grid to real life. We've got the real drivers racing against. For car setup, going with pretty much the standard stuff for this. 8 gallons of fuel to get us that full 15 laps. Probably a little more fuel than I need, but overall, starting off with a standard setup, we'll see how the car feels. Should have this one from Jack for a few Grand Prix, but adjusting the ramp angles to make it overall turn a bit more. So this begins the 1966 season for Richie Axelson. There'll be many events, and this is just the first of many. Although it's 1965 it's taking place. Don't let the date here fool you. The 1965 Rand Grand Prix. So here we are on the grid. Got a few cars in front of me, but hopefully we'll get a good jump here. Flag is up, down right away. We're underway. Oh, able to get a good launch off the line, but looks like Siffert's going to block me in there. Bonnier able to get in front. Got another Brabham coming up the inside. We'll stream down towards turn one. Just gingerly get it in here. No heroics needed on the opening lap. Down to second gear. We'll just come up the inside. I think that's Ireland coming in front of me there. Down to second gear again. Oh, just trying to weave my way here through the cars, coming on the inside here, onto the dirt a little bit. That would be a tough place to make a pass. I had to back out of it. Hopefully not hurting the suspension at all. Come back down to second gear then. So a good start, or a decent start. I think I've just about held my position. We'll have to see when I get the pit board here in a couple laps where I'm at, but I want to set my eyes forward. I don't have a lot of time just to think about the race. We'll come through the last real corner on the circuit and flat out onto the straightaway. Want a good exit here. Hopefully can get some of that slipstream from the car in front. Siffert there with the bright red helmet. He's going to look to the inside of whoever's in front of him. So come complete the first lap there. So 14 to go. Spot the braking for T1. Can brake pretty late. Whoa, locking up just a little bit. Right on the back of Siffert now as we'll come to the second corner. Down to third gear then. Long sweeper, easy to run wide. In second. I played back and forth in first and second through this corner. I think second's a little quicker. It looks like Siffert got held up there. I'm not going to be able to throw it up the inside though. I think Bonnier in front of him, so a couple of classic drivers here. So coming on the front straightaway, much closer this time to Siffert, and I should get a look at the pit board this time around for the first time. So P7, 13 laps to go, so holding station, not exactly what I wanted. Climax engine humming behind me there. I love the lower note that the cars get as the displacement goes up. Makes it feel a little more substantial when you pound on that accelerator. Just trying to figure out a place to do this. I don't know if he'll get held up again here. Oh, he gets a little loose there. Myself as well. Looking up the inside. Oh, I have it down to first gear. Oh, just touching the gearbox there. Siffert, don't want to be playing games like that. Touching in these days is not something you want to do. I was hoping to sneak behind him just a little bit longer before ducking out. Got a good run now though, come into the front straightaway up to fifth gear. See if I can stick in the draft for as long as possible. And stream it out to the inside. Oh, and he's going to have the draft from Bonnier in front of him. So we'll come down to T1 though. Down to second gear, he's leaving the inside open, trying to take advantage of that. Oh, try not to run wide into him. He's gonna pinch me on the exit. We'll come back down to second though for the second corner. Side by side, don't want to clack wheels, hurt the suspension, but able to make the pass on him. Oh, so up to sixth position. This would be into the points if this were a points-paying race. Trying to watch my mirror, make sure he's not going to come back on me at all. Down to first gear though. Oh, so making the pass on Sifford there, snuck in behind, I think it's Bonnier. Ahead aren't super far ahead yet, but I need to get a move on. Check the pit board this time by. Pit board's going to be delayed a lap, so it's P7 last lap with 11 to go this time. So up to P6. Pulling in then on Bonnier though. Oh, I'm catching him at a good spot. Can I outbrake him into T1? Oh, on the inside. Oh, and he gave the position to be a good thing because I was sliding out wide. And he's up on the inside now, so we'll come into the second corner. Oh, and he comes in front. Running a little wide though, I'm gonna come back on him. Classic over-under to get by Bonnier. That's a little more than I'd want with the GPL AI, but luckily surviving it. So turning into a pretty good race this. Down to second gear then. I got a Brabham in front of me. I'm not exactly sure who it is. Might be one of the local drivers potentially. So we'll come through the last corner here. So picking off some positions. But I can see a little pack up front, no doubt. Jack Brabham, John Love in them. Pulling away. So that's P6. I'm up to P5 with 10 laps to go, so a third done the race. Well, a green flag being shown, that usually means there'd be an incident behind me at all, or somewhere. Try to put some solid corners together. I gotta dispatch quickly this car. Definitely pulling in on him though. Running right out to the grass, into the dirt a little bit. It's interesting, these cars it feels like a natural progression from the 1965 cars. They still aren't super high horsepower, so you can stomp on them pretty good. They don't loop under power very easily, but they're getting a little bit more. You have to be a little more careful. You can get going quite a lot faster. A sign of things to come for sure. Let's come up behind, I think, who's in fourth place here. We should see on the pit board this time by who it is. Through the kink, flat out. So it's Sam Tingle. So that is one of the South African drivers, I believe. Come up behind him though, drafting. Come to the inside. Come down to T1. Just want to hold my line. Don't do anything too crazy here into T1. Up the inside. Whoa, car getting a little loose. Oh, it's still side by side. Gonna have to let him go there. So I was just being a little too cautious. See if I can maybe get close here. Might be a passing opportunity up the inside into this corner. Yeah, that would be that would be pretty daring. But coming up the inside then. Oh, and he's gonna pinch me. Try to get on the power, coming out of the final corner there. Pulling in, got a much better run this time. Look to the inside. No pit wall at Kyalami in these days, luckily. So coming out of T1 side by side again. Can I brake a little later? Oh, I did make the pass. Wasn't able to jump in front. It'd be risky to do that. See if I can get around the bottom quickly. Yeah, and able to get in front of him. Down a second. Now I've got to try to pull away. Block the inside here into the slow corner. Make sure he doesn't have an opportunity to try to pass me back. A little sloppy through there. All right, now try to stretch my legs a bit. Pull away. Hopefully he doesn't have a good slipstream down the front straightaway. I pulled a little bit of a gap, but he might be close enough. We'll see. Got me through the final kink. Check the pit board this time by. So 7 laps to go, up to P4 then. So passing a few cars, but the top 3 have pulled a bit of a gap, so I'm gonna have to see if I can close that. I made mention in the intro, this version of Kyalami, it's probably one of the less accurate tracks left in Grand Prix Legends. Hasn't been redone yet. It is accurate, but it's not for the right time. The circuit in 1965, 1966 would have been much more narrow than what we're seeing here. They repaved the track, I believe, after the 67 race and made it this width. So this is much more like, I think it would have been 1968, 1969. Doesn't ruin the enjoyment though. Kyalami is a very fun place to drive any kind of race car, especially this version of the circuit before it was completely redone. So pulled out a little bit on Tingle. Tough to say if I pulled in at all on the group in front. We'll see you check the pit board here. So 6 laps to go, over halfway now. John Love in front of me. Coming down to T1. Ooh, getting a little squirrely there. Hopping off the brakes. Rear end kicking out, indicative of these cars with a little more power. So putting in a solid lap here. Try to carry a lot of speed through this final corner. The car, even though it has more power, it's still a little hard to accelerate. And I think I pulled in a little bit. I have to check the gap this time. Might be a little too late, but I'll give him a run if I can. So I was 7 seconds behind last lap. Well, it looks like they're battling up there, which would be a good thing for me. The more they battle, the slower they go, the easier I catch them. Down a second gear then. You can get yourself almost into a trance doing these laps. For a full Grand Prix, imagine doing, 50 laps around this. That's a short race, really. I think when F1 started coming here in '67, the race was more like 70, 80 laps. You really got to get into a rhythm then. The mechanical wear and things become more of a concern with a race of that distance. For a short sprint, even the 50-lapper, you could drive harder. So 7 seconds on the last lap as well, so holding station just about with the group in front, which is not going to be good enough with only a few laps to go. But we'll just keep pushing a little bit. You never know what's going to happen ahead. The AI can and will hit each other from time to time. Really pushing the limits of the back of the car. I gotta be careful too that I don't overheat the tires, because pushing the limits, you'll find that if the tires get too hot, something that would have worked a couple laps earlier, throwing the car sideways, will no longer hold. And you'll end up spinning yourself out. Down a second gear then. I can just see them there. I'd have to pull in quite a bit to start getting a slipstream, but so 7 seconds, doing just about the same lap times then. 3 laps to go. Overall feels very good and balanced. I think if I did start a little further up front or pass some of the slower cars quicker, I would have a shot, I think. Especially knowing that I'm sticking with them. Even though it's a non-championship race, it would still be good to win something. Doesn't look like today's gonna be that day. So just 2 more laps. Just holding at 7 seconds. It's forever gonna be the number. Down a second gear. Heel towing the whole way down. Have to do a lot of rev matching into T1, especially with the higher horsepower cars as we get further in. Heavy braking like that's very tricky without wings. So down a 3rd gear, just floated through. No sense in pushing super hard now. Try to hold where I am just in case something weird happens in front, but I'm not gonna catch them on raw pace. A little fast of an entry there, slid a bit wide, try to get a late apex and onto the straightaway. So we'll come, pick up one to go. And still see the group up there, but it's not going to be quite close enough to do anything about them. But overall, pretty solid race. Made a few passes, getting back into the fighting spirit. Once more through the S curves here. And then through the final corner, come back onto the straightaway. So a lonely second half of the race, but a very encouraging first half with some of the passing and fighting. I think the 66 Grand Prix season is going to be quite a good one. Finishing 4th position here, I believe, for the Rand Grand Prix. Overall, not too bad. I love the feeling of the BT11 with the higher horsepower engine. And it's only going to go up from here. But overall, Kyalami, a lovely place to race. Should be coming back here at least a few more times. And then finally, for some real Grand Prix with the 1967 season. Let some of the competitors go by. A fun race. So we'll take a look at the final results, but Peter de Klerk able to get the win from Jack Brabham, so reversing history and having Peter de Klerk best Jack Brabham at his own game. But then John Love finishing 3rd, and then Richie Axelson back there in 4th position. So finished 10 seconds off the lead. I think I could have pushed a little harder the last couple laps if I was closer, but just about the same speed of that group up front, so there was no catching them. Tingle finished behind, and then Bonnier and Siffert. Looks like Innes Ireland had a little bit of a oil leak there, but I did get the fastest lap, which is important to note in a Grand Prix. That'll get me an extra point. So overall, a return to the 1966 season. This is the first round of the South African F1 Championship, and I don't believe I'll be doing all of the rounds. I think some of the dates may conflict with other races for the season, but I believe we will be headed to the next round of the South African season. But until then, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all again next time.